I am not going to change my prediction. I've given my qualification for the first time ever. I'm not like some of these Republican congressmen going to flip and flip-flop back. No way.
And it's fascinating. I can't wait to see what's going to happen. So, Professor, we'll talk to you in just a few days. Thank you so much.
Just don't skewer me if I'm wrong.
I would never do that. You know that, right? Professor Alan Lichtman, just days before the election, predicting a Donald Trump win. He actually called it several months earlier. And Professor Lichtman has gotten it right in every presidential election since 1984 using a special set of keys. Joining me once again, as promised, Alan Lichtman, Distinguished Professor of History at American University in Washington, D.C. Professor, congratulations. Your qualifications, there were no need. What do you think of the results?
Well, you know, I feel vindicated in this sense, that I demonstrated that to understand elections, you've got to look at the deeper forces that drive the outcomes. My system doesn't look at polls. It forgets the pundits. It doesn't look at the day-to-day events of campaigns. It looks at the patterns of history, indicating that elections are primarily judgments on the strength and performance of the party holding the White House. And as we discussed, my system revealed the vulnerabilities of the incumbent Democrats, despite all of the issues with Donald Trump and the Donald Trump campaign. I'm also very pleased to see the polls get a comeuppance. Not the pollsters, but the polls. Polls are not predictors. They are abused and misused as predictors. They're snapshots at a given point in time, and you don't know where they're going to stand at another point. In addition, they all have to screen for likely voters, and they don't know who is actually going to vote. So when they say the error margin is plus and minus 3.5%, that assumes everything else is right, including the likely voter screen. So the real error may be much larger. And by the way, analysts of polls like Nate Silver, they're no better, because whatever they say is simply based on the polls themselves and nothing more. Nate Silver is a clerk. He just compiles polls.
Uh-oh. And we're going to have to invite him on to respond to that. In the meantime, you're speaking my language, because as our team knows, I'm not a huge fan of polls, and that bothers some people at times. You know, one of the themes that we've explored this election, in this post-election period, is changing demographics and regionalism. And what I find so interesting about your work is that that doesn't really pertain to the 13 different points directly. And I was wondering, of the 13 points that you look at, true or false questions, what do you think emerges as the most important? Is there a most important question that applied more this time around? Are they all equally important, or did you see a certain tipping point during your work that really indicated a Trump win?
Jenna, I'm going to part the curtain and reveal the secrets of the magician. The secret is that all my keys are equally weighted. When you look at other prediction systems, they have multipliers on their factors. The problem is the multiplier changes unpredictably every 4 years. I don't have to worry about multipliers. All we have to do is count to 6. And the two keys that really stood out for me this year, though, even though they're all equally weighted, is number one, the lack of a real policy accomplishment in the Obama second term, comparable to the Affordable Care Act in the first term. In a sense, and this is very ironic, Republican obstructionism worked. And secondly, the lack of a major foreign policy accomplishment comparable to the dispatch of bin Laden. You know, if Obama had started the invasion of Mosul a little bit earlier, maybe he would have completed it before the election and had a big victory for the Democrats to run on.
What do you think either party could learn from your system about how to better campaign and have more success?
They would have to completely change the way they campaign if they want to listen to me. Number one, get rid of all the negative ads. I mean, all of them. They don't work. They have never, ever turned an election. And instead of spending your money on these useless, offensive, negative ads, focus on building a mandate for governing. Tell the American people exactly what you stand for, what your big theme is, and what you are going to do as president. The American people yearn for that, and they almost never get it. That would build a mandate for governing, so once you're in office, you could achieve the accomplishments that would win you keys to get you to be reelected. The way we campaign now doesn't really build a basis for governing.
Interesting.
Very well.
Make America Great Again, though, seems to fit some of that, what you're talking about. You don't have any sort of questions like this for the lottery or for the Super Bowl or anything? I mean, I was just curious if there's...
Jenna, I have been approached by gamblers to have keys to horse races, and I've turned them all down because I don't want to wind up with cement overshoes.
Good. I think that's a wise decision, and we enjoy talking to you about politics, so we'd like to keep that.
Jenna.
Professor, thank you very much. Great to have you back on the program.
Take care.